Kanoa Lloyd, welcome to Between Two Beers.
Thank you. Oh, shit. I'm so bad at talking. I already interrupted you.
Oh, mate, we've got a hell of a time ahead of us then. We are so excited to have you in with us for a yarn today. I had to laugh when I was texting you to come on the show and you said yes straight away. But then you said you'd also blanked Jesse Mulligan when he asked if you'd help with research for his app. And I wondered, that was my first question, is why the contrasting replies?
Did he say yes to you?
Yeah.
That's so nice. I know, I'm so mean. I think Jesse's episode, by the way, was such a cool conversation that you guys had. But it was earlier on at the start of this year. The project had just been cancelled like a couple of months before, and I didn't know what I was about. And the idea of talking to some broadcasting people and using that part of my brain, I was just like, that's an outrageous request.
Yeah.
Like, I love you so much and I've got so much great stuff to say about you, but I will not be doing that today, sorry.
I like it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Firm reason and firm rationale. It's good. It's strong. And even better that you said yes to us straight away. Like,
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah. But you're in a good place now?
Yeah, I am. Thank you. I think it's been, it's been a hell of a year. I've said to people before that watching what has happened with the media here in Aotearoa and then also overseas, it's a little bit like, like when the cancellation was announced, it felt a bit like my school classroom had burned down overnight or something, like this fundamental place that was really important to me, and sort of the panic and the sadness and stuff that comes with that. But I was like, we'll be sweet. I guess we'll be doing classes from the hall. And then the whole school went down. That's what it was sort of like this year, just watching this thing that I've grown up with. Like, I've always sort of worshipped the news, worshipped telly, been a huge media nerd, and just to see it kind of fall to pieces, and even the grown-ups, like the people in charge, are going, shit, we don't know what to do. It's been quite confronting. But I think I've spent a lot of time on myself this year, which has probably been a bit overdue. So shifting my focus away from that world and just kind of going like, what have I got here? What can I manage in front of me? Has actually been amazing.
Is it a bit like leaving high school when you've got this close group of mates that you're spending every day with, and you're probably in all the chat groups and everything's firing, and then slowly, month after month, if the months are years, it's kind of, you drift apart a little bit, or are you still quite connected to that crew?
Oh no, I mean, I think it's a bit like, maybe I'll say it's a bit like when you become a parent, the friends who show up for you and actually stick around and actually bring the lasagna and actually answer your 2 a.m. text message of panic. Like, they're like the cream that rises to the top. And I think, just by the nature of the work that we were doing, there was dozens and dozens and dozens of people involved, and they've got their whole own rich lives to kind of be getting on with. But those day ones, those super tight homies, like we're still in touch for sure. Yeah. In fact, I've got dinner with Jesse and Jeremy Corbett, I think, next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done a dinner with Jesse when he's reviewing?
Yes. Yes, I have, and I don't really enjoy it. You would think that the offer of free food, free wine, going to these amazing restaurants in Auckland would be like a nice offer, but he's so weird when he's reviewing.
Yeah, really?
I know he's told you that, but it's like, I don't know, he sits weird. He's reading the menu with this, he's studying for an exam. And then I get really self-conscious because I actually really like food. I really like cooking. Like, it's a big personal passion of mine. I've not turned it into a career. And so I'm sort of like, oh, I want to say that like the seasoning of this is amazing, but then is he going to think that I'm trying to like get in the review?
Wow.
So then I'm sitting there like, whoa, look at that picture behind you. Not that I'm commenting on the decor. Obviously, that's your job. I don't care, whatever. It's just a very strange experience. So we do try and book in like times to hang out when neither of us is working.
Is it a noticeable switch though? Like a casual catch-up dinner versus a review Jesse dinner? Can he switch the personalities off when he's in a restaurant?
I think so.
I don't know why I said restaurant.
Oh, la la.
Just thinking that maybe he'll be listening to it.
He does. And I think with Jesse, like, he's physically quite different. He can be so relaxed and he will lounge around and be a real dork. But I think the Jesse that, you know, has built such an incredible career is quite like, he's got a good posture. He's got a focus. I know, rude, eh? Says me.
Yeah, I caught myself as well.
So yeah, you can tell the difference.
Do you clock people realizing it's Jesse and like sort of upping their game when you're out?
Hard out. Yeah, hard out. And it's kind of nice. It's like when you're it's a similar feeling to when your brother or your sister or someone like that does something cool. Like, I feel kind of proud for him. I'm like, yeah, that's right. He's going to write about your shit.
Love it. We've got some strong connections with other recent guests we've had on, and we actually wanted to start with Jason Gunn, who we had on very recently. What a guy. Had us both in tears in that episode.
I didn't see that coming.
Just crept up on us, but his storytelling is like second to none, unreal. But you auditioned for him, right? At What Now?
Yes.
And you never were on What Now, but what was your experience with Jason Gunn?
Oh man, I mean, I worship that man. I just, I think that is actually the beautiful thing about children's television, is that it's a huge responsibility when you're in that role as the presenter, because you're going into people's homes. They believe in you, they trust you, they're listening to what you say, so you've got to be very careful with your words. And I had that relationship with Jason Gunn. Like, he was my mate. I remember being in I lived in Bannockburn in Central Otago for a little while, and filling out the self-addressed stamped envelope to the Son of a Gun show. And when I got the reply and it had Jace's signature on the bottom and a badge with him and Thingy's face, like, I could not believe it. I was like, Jason and Thingy know where Bannockburn is, where about 7 people live, and they knew how to get me this badge. Like, that was such a treasure, and I actually still have that badge somewhere stashed away. So yeah, I think I was about 18. I was already doing another kids' TV show called Squirt. I was doing another TV show called Squirt, which was based in Dunedin, and I found out that What Now were auditioning for new hosts, and this was in the Tamati Coffee era. I thought he was pretty cool. So I think I got flown from Dunedin to Christchurch, which for 18-year-old me was like mind-blowing. Got picked up from the airport by a nice lady, got driven to the studios, and I mean, it was like walking into hallowed ground, even though I kind of had a bit of tele experience because I knew the set and the people so well already. It was like going to Disneyland for me. Tamati sort of showed us the ropes, took us around, set us up, and I was feeling pretty cool. And then Jason Gunn came boinging in.
Boinging is a good one.
Yeah.
He does,
He's got
right?
energy about him, right?
It just, still to this day, like, how dare he? I've never talked to him about his diet or exercise, but it must be amazing.
It's not, actually. If you listen to the episode, he's a KFC fan, a fiend for KFC, for the Colonel. Yeah. And he also, like, I think he clocked the McDonald's VIP card from Young Entertainers. Go back and listen to that episode. It's a good one.
Oh man, I so will, and I'm going to bro down with him over a bucket of chicken.
Yeah.
He comes boinging in, and I think it was after lunch, so maybe he had just had too much KFC or something.
Yeah.
I was expecting this man that I knew from the telly, and he just sprawled out in the bleachers where the studio audience sat, lay down, and he proceeded to say a lot of funny swear words.
Really?
Yeah,
off-brand.
Yeah, off-brand Jay.
So off-brand. But for me, I'm 18. I'm a teenager. I'm starting to drink alcohol. I'm like swearing with my friends. And I actually thought, this is amazing. Like, he's still got the same energy. He's got the same smile. He knows what he's talking about. But he's fucking saying fuck.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so, it didn't, I can't remember what happened. I didn't get the role, but it was kind of this another great slice to this pie where I was like, man, the people making TV are the most interesting, charismatic group of people, and Jace was right at the top of that list. Yeah.
Did you keep a relationship with him when you moved away from Kids
No,
TV?
no, I didn't. I actually didn't have anything to do with him until he started coming and being a guest on the project. And again, I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting next to Jason Gunn.
Did he remember you from way back when?
You know what? The thing about Jason is that he's of this generation of being a professional entertainer. And so I think he's got this skill. There's a handful of other people that have this skill. If he doesn't know what you're talking about, he will pretend like he does. Yeah. And he'll have a little story, and I think he remembered that my husband, Mikey Carpenter, was part of the What Now team before he and I ever met. And so he'd made the connection about Mikey. So, by the end of it, you're like, I don't care if you remember or not, because you've just charmed me. You've charmed me. I'm into it.
Yeah, that's such a good description. And so we met him at this conference we were speaking at, and he was MC, and just boinging. Like the man appeared, and I was like, holy shit, just a ray of good energy and vibes. Such a good chat. Go listen to it after this one. But the other guest we've got a connection with is Dave Letele, and we had him in at the start of the year, and that is a man on a mission. Holy shit, he has got so much going on and he's so driven. But you were working with him recently sort of behind the camera. Why did that project appeal to you?
Oh man, I think I don't know if you guys ever get this, but sometimes I think, God, I should be doing 10,000 times more. And I really wrestle with that thought, because it's like, well, I do what I can, and it's got to be sustainable, and I can't save the world. But Dave doesn't have those thoughts. He's like, I will save the world if it kills me. And so, I don't have that. I don't have that same energy, but I think we're really aligned in terms of our morals and our values, and recognizing need and knowing that it is shit that our people are struggling so much. And so when I thought about him and what he was doing, I was like, look, I don't have much, but I can help you out with this project for this amount of time. I think it's kind of like, for me, it was like, if you see someone rattling a donation bucket and you think, oh God, I've only got a few bucks of cash on me, I don't have $100 note, it's better to put the few bucks in than no bucks, right? So that was kind of my thinking with that decision to work with Dave, was like, look, I don't have heaps, but I'll do what I can, because anything that sort of helps you do what you're doing is a worthwhile investment, I think.
And we'll talk a lot about the project as we go through the episode, but it's a very different kind of storytelling, right? Because with the project, it was quite whiz-bang, lots of different topics every night, whereas Dave's is more longer form, documentary style. Is that something that appealed to you, is getting the all the detail of a story out into the world?
Yeah. It was such an incredible privilege. So, Dave and the team behind him, so I knew, no, they're not dead. I know the production team who have made this TV series with him quite well. I've known them for a long time. And they sort of chose to do a couple of episodes, one on gangs in New Zealand and one on obesity in New Zealand. And so my job as like a researcher was to kind of nail down people and see if they would, one, share their story with me in the first instance, two, consider telling that story on a TV show, which is like a terrifying prospect, I think, for a lot of people. It was I feel really privileged. It was a lovely process to go through. And there are a lot of people that I felt like I really grew a connection with, and I was excited for New Zealand to hear their stories, but who ultimately made the decision not to be part of the project. But I don't feel like, the production might feel differently because they're the ones actually at the end of the day that are responsible for getting the thing on air. But I don't feel like it was wasted time. Like, I think any time that you can give to someone respectfully and thoughtfully listening to what they've got to say, and especially when they're talking about heavy stuff like, oh, I got into a gang because of this, or my relationship to food is an addiction that I don't know how to beat. The act of listening is so it's really generous, I think. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if these people will remember me, but I'll definitely remember the people that I met in that process for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Your life now, I mean, obviously this is finished filming and the project finished a while ago. What does it look like? What's the day-to-day? I know you've got some projects that you perhaps can't talk about coming up, but what?
Well, I mean, I can tell you that so I have always been a person that liked having a job, and I mean a job as in I knew where I was going to, I knew who my boss was, I knew the best place to park my car or like what bus stop to get off. And that's sort of what I loved about the project. It was like our little bubble, and I knew the team, I knew what people had for lunch, like I liked the familiarity of it. Now what I'm doing is like, I guess I gotta come up with my own shit. And that's a bit scary for me, but I think I'm as ready as I've ever been. So just going through this process of like, I mean, you guys know, like, what does it mean to have a good idea, take that from good idea to something that you can pitch to people, then like all the, how do we get money for this? So yeah, I'm kind of going through that process on a couple of things at the moment, and it's exciting and terrifying, and who knows if it will pay dividends, but God, I'm learning so much just going through these motions.
Yeah. We are going to move into a section which I have called Meet Kanoa.
Oh, yeah, that's
me. So we spoke to Mikey Carpenter in prep for this and a bunch of your other friends and family. And I've got a bit of a list. I'm going to go through them. He actually said she might hate me for this one, which is just like the best thing for us to hear. But no, I wanted to start. The first one is, can you tell us about your relationship with cricket?
I thought cricket was really dumb and really boring. My uncles and my granddad, my pop, would watch Test cricket, and I was like, what are you looking at? Nothing's happening. Every time I walk into the lounge, you're looking at the same thing. I don't get it. And plus I was like a little bit of a punk at school. Like I thought it was just because I was no good at sports, but I was like too cool for sports, right? And then I met Mikey, and what I fell in love with first was how genuinely, passionately he loved cricket. Like I still didn't understand it, but I find it really thrilling when someone has an obsession, and I like love what it says about them, that they've dedicated so much of their energy to something like that. So here's this guy who's obsessed with it, who was convinced he would have been a black cat maybe if things had gone a different way. I'm probably describing every like 45-year-old New Zealand man right now.
Yeah, that's me.
And yeah, so over time, I mean, he kind of, he drip fed me. He took me to the gateway drug of a T20 match.
Smart man.
And I was, yeah, right. And like, what's not thrilling about that? Then I don't know I can't remember the exact pathway, but I know that he was like just about fainted when he came home one day, and I'd finished work early, and I was laying on the couch drinking a beer, watching the Test. And he was like, I'm gonna marry you.
That was it. That was the detail. He added you were in your undies. He's like, I came home and she was watching Test cricket in her undies, I could not believe it.
It's true. It's all true.
The other one, and this was corroborated by your sister Ruby as well, was that you know the words to almost every song ever, and Mikey's footnote was that you can freestyle on demand.
I mean, I do know a lot of words to a lot of songs, but I don't know that I know them until I start singing them.
Oh, yeah.
So it's quite an exciting time to be in the car if you're listening to like More FM or the hits or something, because some random 90s like thing will come up and it turns out, yep, I know every single word.
Is that your sweet spot, sort of 90s, early 2000s sort of pop? Or is
yeah, 100%. A bit of rap, but to be honest, like I don't really back myself past anything like more complicated than Coolio.
Oh,
So
okay.
just-
paradise.
So just Coolio, like Will Smith, which are quite embarrassing things.
Not at all. Why would you be embarrassed?
Oh, because if you're actually into rap, then that's like
that's fair.
janky.
That's,
Millennium Banks.
There's a lot of good memories there. He made music for a generation.
You were gonna start rapping, Shay, and see if you could jump
No,
in.
don't try and nig
God.
me. I'm not going to do that.
As
But I am
walk
going
through the
to.
valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Oh my God!
That's his karaoke go-to. I wish he
perfect.
didn't stop that. It would, that's going to make a great little social clip, by the way. Throwing that together from the Christmas party.
Gangster's Paradise.
But I have heard very, very good Drunken Love.
Oh no, not a good drunken love. I don't know. Have you guys heard of a lady called Beyonce who sings that song?
No.
Yeah, she's quite good at singing, and it's quite insane what she does with her voice. And so while I might know what it's supposed to sound like, it does not sound like that when it comes out.
I heard
of
it
me.
was very, very, very good.
3 varies.
Yeah, and then I tried to do the Jay-Z part as well. That's funny. That was actually a Mai FM challenge that Nixon and Nate set me, that I had to learn every word to that and like perform it with 1,000% energy. And that might be the reason I quit Mai FM. I can't quite remember.
Was
the
it that, or was
details.
it I remember you got forced almost to twerking?
I did
on stage?
Yeah, I did. I had to twerk, and there were. I think it was one of the Mai FM like big birthday parties, maybe the 25th or 20th or something like that. And they held it at the power station in Auckland, which is quite a big venue. Like a lot of people can fit in there. And people that were in the audience were like All Blacks, Warriors. And they were like, yeah, and Kanoa's going to twerk on stage. And it was, yeah, it might have been that. That might have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
Well,
Yeah, it sounds
with
like-
that, like,
Were you there? Did you look at my bar?
No. It was recorded, so I watched afterwards. But I had a Japanese import, so I only could get 88.6 here in Auckland.
Yes.
But I remember hearing it. I remember following it, and I could hear the real trepidation in your voice as it got closer and closer. Like you really genuinely didn't. Well, I'm assuming you genuinely didn't. Your body language tells me you definitely didn't. You definitely didn't want to do it, right?
I didn't. I'm sitting here with my arms crossed. I really didn't. Like it was, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to like talk about all of this without just like talking about it. But I think I was in radio at a time where like that particular radio station just didn't know what it wanted to be. I think they're amazing now. Like they've got an incredible identity and a huge crew of people. But at that time, they were just trying to be Brown the Edge, and Brown the Edge in the JJ and Dom era. So that meant like tits out, stunts, like, and I just, that's not what I thought I was signing up for. And it was very male dominated, and there were quite a few times where I was in the room and I was like, no, I'm the only girl in here, and there's like 6 dudes all going, no, it'll be funny. And, you know, I don't think that their motivation was to make me feel like the odd one out. In fact, I know it wasn't. They were like, we got to do the best we can and, like, you know, bring in the advertising dollars, all the same shit.
Ratings are coming up.
Exactly. All the same motivations that we still have now. I think they've just got a lot smarter about how they do it. And so, yeah, no, I genuinely didn't want to twerk, but I also didn't want to let the team down. And so, yeah, like I found it really humiliating. And there's quite a lot of there's a lot of stuff in there. Like I grew up in Dunedin, quite separated from like my Māori family. And not to say that like Māoris are the same as, like I felt separated from cool culture and brown culture and, you know, thousands of miles away from American culture. So to end up on a hip hop and R&B station doing something that is, you know, like twerking is like a, you know, that's a black women's thing. It's not my thing. And I felt like a real square peg in a round hole anyway. There's just layers and layers and layers of actual humiliation that I was dealing with. But I also knew that I had to be funny and I had to be a good team member. And so I did it. And then I quit.
Yeah. Well, for what it's like, I could, as a listener, I could hear I don't want to do that. And it was a weird thing to see it go all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because, you know, I think part of your job is, when you're broadcasting, is to like not let the audience feel that stuff. You want them to feel safe and secure, and like they're hanging out with mates and like they know you. And but it obviously was getting to a point where it was like, I can't keep pretending that I'm all good with all of this stuff. Yeah. And I think and then I left and they took off. So
we are going to speak a lot about the warm, caring, empathetic side of your personality, but I'm just going to contrast it with a little birdie suggesting there might be an element of road rage as well.
Was that my sister?
Both, again, corroborated by both Mikey and Ruby.
I think that's quite a New Zealand thing, actually, where we are, we make room for people on the footpath, we say hello and like, thanks bus driver. We're anywhere where people can see us, we're all lovely. But then we get into our little bubble in our car and it gets gnarly, man. And I think
singing away to the songs you didn't realise.
I've got some 3 doors down to sing. Get out of my way. I do. I want to take this opportunity. If you've ever seen my middle finger out of the driver's side window before, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Sometimes it just goes up there and I have to pull it back down with my other hand, and then that creates real drama because I've got no hands on the steering wheel. It's not something I'm proud of, but it is something I'm working on.
Are you proud of your hidden talent at Frisbee though?
Yes. Yep. I am, without a doubt. No two ways about that. Because like I said, I'm not a sport person. I was not coordinated. I am not coordinated. But for some weird reason, me and Frisbee, we just vibe. We vibe. I can throw long. I can throw accurate. I can catch. I think it's because it goes quite slow too. Gives me time.
Have you done Frisbee golf?
No, and people keep asking. I mean, I've set up like kind of pretend Frisbee golf, like just at friends' houses and stuff. But no, I've never done the one in Queenstown or anything.
Yeah, well, there's one out at Woodhill.
Oh, yeah.
And I was terrible.
And we've organised a little throw for you this afternoon.
Yeah, radio stunt. But you've got to...
You've got to take all your clothes off.
It's a lot harder than you see, than I thought it would be, Frisbee golf. So I was actually terrible at it, and I think I'm quite a good Frisbee proponent.
Maybe that's why I'm like, I want to just kid myself that I could nail it, so I just won't try. Yeah, that's a healthy attitude to have towards things.
Yeah, totally.
I've got one more on our list of Met Kanoa. And did you cry when you met Hans Zimmer?
I did.
Because is it Lion King based?
So Hans Zimmer is like this amazing composer, if you don't know. He has scored so many movies. He's famous for Inception. He kind of invented that bomb, which has like since then, I can't remember what year Inception was, like let's say 2010. Since then, that sound that he kind of created, you'll like, now that I've told you about it, you'll notice it in every single thriller or drama or whatever. It's like this really intense. But he'd also scored heaps and heaps of movies, including The Lion King, and I got the chance to sit down and interview him. And you know, when you prep for an interview, like I have like you guys, like a list of questions that I'm like, I hope we'll get to, but like the best things that you talk about kind of end up being off the page or off your plan. And I just sat down in front of him and I was feeling really nervous, and the first thing I said to him was like, of all the men I've known in my life, you're the one that's made me cry the most. And that was it. We were away because he was like, thank you so much for saying that. But it was true. It was like, you don't cry at The Lion King without the score of The Lion King.
I'm thinking about that scene.
Yeah, I know. You can't not think about that scene.
Every time, eh?
I will fast forward that scene for my daughter until she is 25.
Yeah. You got your kids into The Lion King?
Yeah.
They like it.
They love it.
Do they watch the real kind of the new one?
No, the old one.
Yeah, that's the way.
The original.
The OG.
Yeah, that's the way.
There's so many different versions now.
Are there?
Oh. They're on Netflix. Keen to go right back to the start.
Okay.
And there's a few things about your childhood we're keen to sort of touch on. One of the things I'd read that you were in like 20 different houses before you were 16, like quite a transient sort of childhood.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could just reflect on, how you think of it and relationship with mum and dad.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone that like stuff is all good all the time ends up living in 20 houses before they're 16, you know. Some of those were state houses, some of them were short-term rentals. At times, like my mum and my sister and I lived with my grandparents for a while. So yeah, I think it would be fair to say that like the start of my life was pretty turbulent. And my folks both had to work really hard to give us what they gave us. My mum made the decision, I think, when I was about 6 to retrain as a nurse. And like to this day, what she did to get her nursing qualification, get my sister and I to school on time. Her and my dad were separated when I was quite young, and so to get me and my sister back and forth for like weekends there and every second weekend, you know, kind of nonsense custody arrangements and stuff, and come out on top, qualified, is like mind-blowing to me. I can barely function with one child. And the fact that she did that, like, you know, we've talked about it now that I'm an adult, and she would like put us to bed at 7 o'clock, get the stuff out for us to make our school lunches in the morning, and then like sit down and do her study until like 2-3 in the morning, and then wake up and get us to school. And so yeah, I feel like that kind of represents quite a turning point. Like once she sort of started on that career path, we moved into a place in Middleton Road in Dunedin, and yeah, that was kind of our home base for the next 10, 15 years or so, I think. So yeah.
I guess the flip side of that though as well is that it would have taught you resilience, adaptability, like again with the adult lens on it. What are some of the big lessons that you learned from that period of time?
Well, I think it's like, I mean, I think it has taught me a lot of compassion and understanding. I think if you don't, you don't live through those experiences yourself. I'm just thinking like where I live, there's quite a lot of kainga ora housing around me now and more developments going up. And I look at that and I think, thank God, like those people are going to have a safe, warm place to live. And I know from my own experience what can grow out of there or not. Like I'm also not saying like just because you live in kainga ora housing that needs to be your jumping off point and you need to turn your life around. Everyone deserves to have healthy, secure housing. But I know, you know, if you don't know what goes in there, you probably just think, oh, gangs, oh, crime, oh, whatever, second-class citizens. And I know that because I've heard people talk like that about the developments as well. So I think, you know, I appreciate that, that I know the reality of what that kind of life is. And yeah, you would think it would teach me good habits like not hanging on to too much stuff, but I do think I'm a bit of a borderline hoarder as an adult. Like I'm like, nope, I definitely need 29 pairs of the same kind of sock, and like, yeah, I have a like artfully cluttered house. Just a lot of things. I like stuff.
This is a really interesting point because I feel like, so my mum grew up in the islands, in the Solomons, and very few possessions.
Yeah.
And I think now, when I look at her house now, like there's keepsakes kept for 40, 50 years. And I think it harks back to a childhood where maybe she didn't have a lot. She didn't have a lot of things. So your connection to stuff is way more important.
Totally. I think, objects can hold a lot of power. And I think it's also influenced by the fact that like, my mum and my dad and pretty much everyone in my family except for me are really amazing artists or crafters of one kind or another. And so like something might just look like a wooden spoon to somebody, but I know that my dad made it out of a piece of like recycled rimu that he found at a boathouse when I was 10. Like I have relationships to all these things and memories that kind of live in these things that, you know, I like to have around me. But other people might just be like, why is that there?
Moving houses so much, I imagine you moved schools a lot as well. Like, or did you have any stability across that period?
Yeah, I don't think school was as gnarly. Like, I had 3 primary schools, and then with that change that I was talking about, like mum starts nursing, and so I had 1 intermediate and 1 high school, and like that was all good. But yeah, I was just quite a hard out nerd. I just wanted the teachers to like me and think I was a good girl, and so it didn't really matter who it was, just so long as they said, good work, Kanoa, I was happy.
What's your definition of a nerd? Because I feel like I was quite a nerd at school as well, but everybody kind of has a different interpretation of what that meant.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I wish I was like a cool nerd that was really into Star Wars or something. But
me.
I wasn't. Yeah. But more like I loved books. I loved the consistency and like predictability of school. I loved the rules. I loved knowing what the rules were, even if the other kids didn't. But yeah, I think books and reading and information were probably my first passion. I remember I think my last couple of years of primary school, I had a really amazing primary school teacher, and she would bring me books from her own personal collection at home to give to me because I was just chewing through what we had in our little library and just thinking that was the most wonderful gift. And like, yeah, Ms. Moya gives me her own special books. Like, heaven for me.
Were you an outgoing kid?
Yeah, I definitely was. I was always quite chatty, and probably that's what got me into trouble the most, was like talking myself into trouble and then trying to quickly talk my way back out of it.
But you also talked yourself onto TV, right? Were you doing movie reviews for Squirt? Is that how you first got it in? And what's that like at high school? Like, are you getting recognition for that amongst your peers?
I can't really remember what my peers thought at the time, but I thought I was shit hot.
Yeah, you sound shit hot. Yeah. Like I can't think of anyone really, really cool that was doing something at our school.
Yeah, and it was also like the most thrilling part to me was not the work. I loved the work. I loved going into the TV studio, and I loved being paid for. I found out about the audition in my high school drama class, and the idea that I could then also make some money being a show off was like awesome. But the best part about it was that the host at the time, Matt Gibb, would drive Ian Taylor's Audi TT to my all-girls high school, park outside the gates, and wait for me so he could whiz me back to the studio so I could record my links. Yeah. And I'd be like, peace out, babes. Yeah, just gotta go with Matt Gibb here. Yeah. Oh, sorry, is that an Audi? Shame. Let me just get into that. Okay, it's really tiny and I'm enormous, but here we are. So yeah, it was thrilling times.
Did you have much to do with Sir Ian? We had him on as a guest, Sir Ian Taylor.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was sort of like this, like Dumbledore figure at Hogwarts or something, you know, like he was, I knew that it was his place that I was working in, and I definitely saw him, and he would, you know, obviously say hello to me, but he was quite mysterious to me and a little bit terrifying. And it's been actually wonderful to, you know, I think he has a lot of good things to say about a lot of things, and so to kind of appreciate his work as an adult, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm glad I spent some time working with him.
Was it? I'm getting into the weeds here, but was it green screen and they added in turtle?
Please, this is my kind of weeds. I love it.
Like the turtle, and is it a dolphin? Or
it was a penguin.
Yes, sorry.
And there was a fish that lived in a kind of tank, and it was
there was
green
no turtle,
screen.
was there? There was no turtle.
It's
sorry.
Embarrassing. You said
you should have called me out of my shit.
Well, no, it just kind of. I was like, was there a turtle?
Yeah, I was already at uni. I was beyond that. I was beyond it by that stage. But yeah, but you were green screen.
Yeah, which at that time was just mind blowing technology. And as you know, like TaylorMade and Sir Ian, they developed all the America's Cup graphics, and I think a lot of that work was starting to go on while we were making this little kids TV show, like, and that stuff was just like they were living in the future in space as far as I was concerned. But so the sort of basic form of this technology that we made the show on, like, how cool. And now, I don't know, still if you're scrolling social media, you see behind the scenes of people doing green screen stuff. I never had to wear the weird suit with the balls on it or anything, but I just got to wear normal clothes. I know, it's sad. But yeah, I mean, it was a really cool, exciting place to be.
And I guess that's the foundations for like some of the storytelling skills that you get, right? Because if you're having to act or interact with something that's not actually there, you start to build those skills which will set you up for the future.
I mean, thank you for saying that, but I don't want you to overstate it. It was literally like, thanks, Spike. And now I'm going to talk about this movie. It's nice. And if you want to watch it, you can.
Sometimes.
Back to you.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very...
Someone's finally called him on his shit.
Yeah. I'm really like painting these
Taking
beautiful
180 episodes and someone's finally called him on it.
Cross off the next 20 questions that I've got there.
I mean, you're making me look cool, but I just don't want to give anyone the impression that I'm like cooler than I am.
No,
I love that.
still think
I love
it's...
that. I love that for you.
I mean, 16, 17, 18 on TV, pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
So you finish high school, you go to uni for a year, and then you drop out. You do massage therapy for a year. You get a job in a library, and then you link back up.
Mitre 10 Mega, I think, is in
Mitre
there
10
as well.
Mega.
That was actually Mitre 10. I quit Mitre 10 to go work on the telly. I was like, so that was beforehand. Yeah.
In those years, did you always think that you wanted to get back into TV? Were you in TV the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, I think at that time I was probably trying to talk myself out of wanting to be on TV. Like, it seemed like I'd had this great high school job. Like, I guess I should go to university because that's what you're supposed to do. But just a whole bunch of things. I found out later that I got glandular fever in that first year.
Kissing disease.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sometimes you got to cut the shit. Tell it what it really is. It's the kissing disease.
That's what they call it. And I was pashing my face off.
Well, you were the take your place in the world goth girl
I
for
know.
the recruitment campaign for Otago University.
I was. Also got to Pash Guy when he realised that was me. He was like, oh my God, I love you. And I was like, okay, Pash. And that is probably how I got glandular fever.
That's how it happens, kids.
Yeah. But I didn't realise that, I didn't realise I had it at the time. I honestly just thought that I was really tired. I thought I was probably getting really depressed, although I don't even know if I really had the name depression for it. I was a shambles, really. And I thought that was because I just wasn't smart enough to cut it at university, and I wasn't doing Squirt anymore. As I talk about it now, I'm like, oh, this is weird. This is like maybe similar to the year that I'm having at the moment. But anyway, I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I was capable of. And so I think I probably talked myself out of television, going back into media. I was just like, nah, that's like, I've had my time now. I was lucky to have it. Don't get up yourself, Kanoa. That's too... You can't actually make a career out of that, you idiot. And so, it is really funny, the parallels with then and now. What I decided to do was to go and study massage therapy because I just needed something practical to do with my hands and to put my focus into. And now I'm in the middle of training to be a yoga teacher, which is very parallel with that massage therapy training.
These are like therapy sessions. So
Yeah,
you
just so
will
you know.
unpack a lot
Just
of
so
stuff.
you know, yeah. This will
You'll be
send
a new
you
woman
into
by
a
the
spin,
time
by the
you
way.
leave.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys will send me the invoice afterwards. Yeah.
You'll text us in a couple of weeks' time and go, oh, man. Wow. Okay.
So I think I did, in my heart of hearts, I really did always want to be part of the tally, but there've definitely been times in my life where I talked myself out of it because I thought, well, don't be stupid. You can't do that. Yeah.
But you do. You moved to Auckland for the job at Sticky TV, 2009 to 2014. And is it okay to state now that this period, so by 23 you directed, written episodes, set dressing, carrying cables, is this where you really developed some of your storytelling abilities?
I think you can say that. I won't call you out on that.
There we go.
It's at the bottom of the same paragraph. I just read that bit before the other bit. Shit.
You win. 100%. And that was the way the executive producer ran that show. Like, you don't get to be in front of the camera if you don't know what everybody else is doing. She always used to say, you got to have some back to your front. And I was like, oh, shut up.
Did you not see me on Mai FM?
Yeah. She annoyed me. She would say that, but I am really, really grateful that that's how we rolled. I think you have to when you're in that sort of environment because the resources are stretched really thin, so everybody just has to do everything. But I also think I don't think I would have made the moves that I did from kids TV to like music TV and radio to news if I didn't have that understanding that I did start building then of how the sausage gets made and gaining skills that I could go, maybe I could sort of transfer that into this new scary space.
Because was it a planned ascent to where you ended up, or was it by like happy accident?
What person lays out that career path? Hey, I'm going to start talking to a pretend penguin, and then at the end of this, I'm going to talk to Mike McRoberts.
You're crushing dreams here. Do not.
With a little weather interlude.
Yeah, with a weather intermission for a moment. No, I had no plan, but I also. I think I've had some incredible luck and probably like allowed myself to just kind of dream just the appropriate amount at each step to be brave enough to take a risk and like going from radio to weather. What a stupid who does that? I mean, I guess maybe Mike Puru, he that went from radio into doing weather, but at that time there definitely wasn't it wasn't an obvious move, but I got just brave enough and just silly enough to jump in and try it, and it worked out.
Did you know anything about weather before you got into
Yes,
weather?
obviously. Why are you asking me that?
You've got the green screen training,
Yes.
the formative green screen training. So
full circle, you win now. Yes.
You've got a competitive advantage over other people.
Absolutely. I think that they must have seen that on my CV and gone, she's got it.
She knows the screen.
No, I didn't. But, it's like in the same way that I say, like, I fell in love with Mikey's obsession with cricket. Like, I think you can kind of teach yourself to see the good in almost anything. And so once I started doing weather, I was on it, and it was like my party trick to tell people like what the weather was going to be tomorrow, or like what the system was going to do, because once you're focused on it and you find the good in it. But it was quite a lonely job. You're just one person emailing the Met Service and putting graphics in. Like, it's not.
Where was Augie Awa on this journey? Had he
yeah.
Had he finished a long time before?
I think maybe. I think he was like pre.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know my TV3 weather staff all that well, but I know he was kind of around there. He kind of revolutionized the game because he was a meteorologist, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think he was. I
realised I've said that out loud and someone's going to hammer me being like, no, he wasn't.
And I don't know enough to correct you, but
Yeah,
I feel like
This is
you're
a bad look, guys.
Yeah.
So to conclude, I know heaps about weather and all the people that have ever presented it. Thank you so much.
The weather, it's like 4 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Is it auto cue? Are you off the?
But you
That's a good
script it.
question. Thank
yeah. Auto cue. You know what an auto
that is a
cue
good question.
Thank you.
Yes, but you script it yourself. So you walk into the newsroom, you've got an email in your inbox from Met Service with just like the kind of numbers and places, and then you get to turn it into something that people would actually want to watch on the TV. And so that's when I was like, you're just writing like, Auckland, a high of 14, a low of 7. And that's when I decided to just keep myself slightly more interested and write, now we're heading to Tāmaki Makaurau, where it's going to be 14 in the afternoon, but take a coat in the morning. And that turned out to be an enormous political statement.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. What was the timeline on that when you started using Māori names?
It was pretty quick, and I would say, I hadn't done any Māori studies or anything since probably for about 7 years. I did a Te Reo Māori when I think I was about 20, and really those place names and stuff, to be honest, sometimes I was Googling them. I don't think I knew that Hamilton was Kirikiriroa until I looked it up. But it just seemed like, I was like, John Campbell's a groovy guy, and they say kia ora good evening here on the news. So it just seemed like it would fit and be fine. And it was in the room. I don't think anybody was like, what are you doing? But that same inbox where you got the email from the Met Service saying, here's your data for the day, was also, I could also see, and I've learned my lesson now, but I could also see the emails that were coming in from the public, and some of them were just crazy, like crazy. Well, this insight into people's psyche, and I think it was sort of, pre this era that we're in now, where Facebook and Twitter and stuff have just become a cesspit of like human shit. And it was pre-COVID, pre-conspiracy, but I think what I was seeing was like this direct route into really sad, nasty little people's minds. It was something fun to do, to email the TV3 email address and say, you know what, I don't think that lady should be saying Maori things. We speak English in New Zealand. And I mean, I literally can't remember anymore. I've emotionally moved on, but at the time, shit, it hurt to read.
Who would normally filter those messages? Would they just be deleted? Like, was it an accident that
it wasn't really an accident. It was like, it's a newsroom, right? Like, everybody should know what's going on. They've got thick skins. It's like, and probably the majority of people would have been too busy to do that. But I was fucking bored because I was just writing the week. And so it was like, I could just see it there. And those inboxes, like, people send tips into them. Like, they do serve a function. But I wasn't reading those ones. I was just reading the nasty ones. And, I'd like to say that we've moved on, but like, I know, for instance, Ordini Kaipara, who's like this incredible journalist who wears a moko kauai, like, I've seen the kind of comments that she gets on social media, and it's, it's those same sort of people. It's bleak.
Was the volume consistent throughout your whole time doing the weather, or was that just like a short burst when you started?
It might have just been a short burst when I started. I mean, it's sort of hard for me to remember now, because like my lasting memory of that time was then I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Well, first of all, I got called into my boss's office because I sent a tweet about it saying New Zealand is racist, something to that effect. And then that got picked up by an RNZ journalist who wrote something about it. And then Mark Jennings, my boss at the time, called me into his office. And, I'm the girl that just wants to impress the teacher and wants them to say good job and like, thanks for knowing all the rules and following them at all times. And I was just like, I just want the floor to open up. I'm going to get fired. He's going to yell at me. And his attitude was very much like, well, good on you. Look what you've done.
Yeah.
Like, good on you for doing it in the first place. Bloody great press for us. People are going to be talking about this. And I was like, what? What do you mean? I want it to go away. I'm sorry I said it. I'm sorry I said what I was actually thinking. And it did. It kind of ended up, I remember people talking about it on the morning news show at the time and the papers, and getting my friend who was a teacher at an intermediate school in Dunedin, like, messaging me being like, the kids are all talking about you saying like oti poti on the TV, and like, it's amazing, and it means heaps to them. And that's kind of my lasting memory of that time, is that people were like, excuse me, we can say what we want. And now look at the broadcasting landscape. Like, everyone's just like, no, actually, shut up, racists. We've got this. Leave us alone. Let us say what we want, how we want.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that, how looking back, it seems so radical, and now it's like, do you feel like we're in a good place now with the sort of integration of Māori into mainstream TV?
From my perspective, I think so. I'm sure there's probably always going to be people who know a lot more about the reo and, are much, much smarter than me, who will see places that it can grow and change. But like, I feel pretty lucky that I can sort of kick back and know that my Māori daughter has got so many resources and so many voices and so many different like places to go to hear her reo. And so like, for me, I'm like, sweet. And also maybe I don't need to feel so guilty about my lack of language development, because everyone else has got it handled. It's fine.
You know that throwaway line of you just got to develop a thick skin and get on with it?
Yeah.
You don't actually get any training to do that though either, do you?
No.
When you go into like a broadcast or a public space, or like, because it stings me when we get stuff on our comments every now and again. I'm like, oh, fuck, that sucks.
Yeah.
But the volume that you were getting is completely different, and that, I guess, the volume consistently since 2014 until you finish on the project, 2023, I imagine would be quite a swell of stuff that you take on.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I have, I'd love to say that I've just got a thick skin, but I've just learned more coping mechanisms. It's not nice, and it does, I think, for me anyway, and I feel like there are others like me. There are some that work in news and media who are just incredible robots, and they're just like there to save the world, and so comments and stuff don't get to them. They do get to me, and I have really had to build up a lot of skills to, not let it affect me. So now I think if something like that happened, I'll just be like, oh, Jesus, I'm turning my phone off for 3 days and I'll just wait for it to be over. But at the time, I didn't know to do that. And I also didn't, I think my logical brain was probably like, oh, well, they're just sad people. Don't worry about what they think. But in my heart, I was like, ouch, ouch, ouch. I just want people to like me. Like, why don't they like me? So, yeah, but I mean, I'm very barely on social media anymore. That's been another nice thing about this year, is not feeling like I actually have to go on social media. And I've just figured out how to name it and talk about it with people like my husband and my sister. And I see a talk therapist regularly too. And if something like that comes up, it's a perfect place to kind of just go, does this actually matter? How am I feeling about this? So, yeah.
I've never heard that term, a talk therapist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's because I'm in she's a psychotherapist, but now that I'm in yoga world, there's body therapists, So
Okay.
Talk therapy is kind of what it says on the tin. And then body therapy is a whole world that goes from a little bit woo all the way to full on wizards and witches and weirdos. It's very interesting.
So 2017, they announced a new show, The Project, is coming in. You've been with her for 4 years. Do you start hearing whispers? How does that process work? You start hearing that they're looking for a new presenter and you go and audition for the role, or do you get shoulder tapped? Or?
Yeah, I think there was definitely whispers, and I had quite a lovely mentor in the newsroom at the time, Richard Sutherland. I remember him saying he thought that I should go along and have a go at this. And I just sort of sat there and told him all the reasons why I shouldn't and all the other people that should do it instead. And he's like, I'm just going to stop you there. I've talked to those other people that you're saying should do the job, and none of them mentioned you. You need to not worry about what they're up to and just focus on yourself and, give it a crack. And I'm so glad I did, because, yeah, I mean, it had just been, see, I'm losing my words. I'm really glad that I went to that audition and that I had that chapter in my life. It was life-changing.
We've got lots of questions about it. That first night, hour before, 2 hours, a day before going live, huge audience.
Yeah.
What are you like?
Oh, man, a mess, a complete mess. I think I had to take the attitude of, look, it's just TV. Of course I want it to be good, but if it's shit, then it's shit, and I kind of think it's shit anyway, so then it'd just proven me right. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to think it sucks before you think it sucks, so get away. But I remember the moment that I knew that this was going to be pretty special, which is when our first story, which was about meth, it was our first story and our first night, played it out and had a serious chat about how meth is bad. Cool, revolutionary. And then we threw to the funny story that was coming after it, and there was some sort of disastrous technological failing, and that first meth story rolled again. And I wish I could remember what Jesse Mulligan said when it cut back to us really quickly, but he just soared in on this live moment, said something hilarious, the audience laughs, it's all okay. And I just thought, God, I want to be sitting next to you for a really long time. This is amazing. This live feeling is amazing. I don't care that there was a huge technical mistake, because I feel like I'm in safe hands, and I'm kind of glad that it happened.
He does seem like a very safe pair of hands.
Yeah.
But he, in speaking to him, said that you adjusted to that live environment almost seamlessly as well, in terms of use your term, auto cue, words being out of sync, and he could see it coming, and you would just I can see. I lost it. Oh, God.
Come on, man. Take a breath. You got it.
You would easily be able to be able to adjust. But was it a rough adjustment to like live auto cue stuff?
No, I mean, I was doing live on the weather, so I think I quite quickly, this is going to be a weird sidebar. Have you guys heard that thing about like some people can picture, it's like a neurological thing. Like if I say picture a green apple, what are you picturing?
Granny Smith.
Granny Smith. Like, can you tell me anything else about it?
It's in a fruit bowl.
Okay.
Fruit bowl's yellow, red, and blue.
Oh.
By itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
Just a green apple.
Yeah. Tell me more. Is there anything else to say?
It's just clear. There's no stem. It's just a green apple.
Okay, just a pure green apple.
Yeah.
So when I think of a green apple, I cannot see a picture.
Oh.
I'm like, yeah, I know that it's a green apple, but that's just the vibe that's there. And people, when I tell them that, think that's really terrifying because they've got, exactly like you, the fruit bowl, they've got like a bead of morning dew on it, and that is really confusing to me. It might sound like a bit of a failing of my stupid brain, but what it means is like if I'm reading an auto cue, I can just see the shape of a word and I know immediately what it is. I can just like look at one thing once, and it's like there's more room in my brain to think at the same time as I'm reading. Sorry, that was a really weird green apple sidebar, but I think just the way my brain is built, like I was built for reading an auto cue in a live situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're doing live TV 5 nights a week, like if we've got a big interview or a live gig or something, you're kind of on edge all day before it. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you unwind?
Or were you?
No, I think I definitely didn't deal with it well at all for a while there. It wasn't just the energy and stamina you need and the adrenaline and then recovering from that high, but it was also like things just really took off for me personally. It was like, going to the supermarket and ladies being like, oh, I loved what you did on the show last night. Social media, blah, 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 blah. People being like, hey, could you please sell my new lipstick that I've invented? Hey, do you want this free dress? Like looking back at especially that first year and maybe the second year, like it was just crazy the input that I was getting. And it wasn't sustainable. And so at times I don't think I did cope. Like I was just charging and just running on adrenaline. And I think it was maybe year 3, certainly by year 4, I made the decision to kind of go sober-ish because I realized that I was kind of getting home from that 7:30 finish, like on a massive high, and I would just be in the car thinking, God, I need to have a wine. I can't wait. Like once I've done that, I'll be able to tune out. And so like I've never actually really talked about this because I guess at that time I maybe felt a bit ashamed that I couldn't like control my relationship with alcohol, and so I kind of wanted to keep it a secret. But now there's so many people that talk about this that I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, no, it's good to not drink sometimes.
Or all the time in my case.
All the time, exactly.
Yeah.
For me, I think, I don't know if it's just because I'm a bit of a control freak, but like I like alcohol's never completely off the table for me. Like you can't tell me that an after lunch beer in a pool on a hot day is not a health food. Like that is a thing of pure beauty to me.
It's a great scene. I see that picture.
Right? But like up until that point, that one beer would have been the start of my day of drink. I'd have a beer then, and then I'd like maybe have a cocktail at 4:00 and then like wine with dinner. And I just didn't think about that. I had no, I wasn't examining that relationship at all. And now I'm like, let me enjoy that one beer because I'm on holiday. I don't have work to do. I don't have anywhere else to be. I know that it's Mikey's turn to get up with Nico in the morning, and then that can be it. So, I'll go for months and not drink anything because I don't have occasion to. But then, yeah, every once in a while, I'm like, gimme.
That first year or two that you're talking about, like, I guess you normalize what your new life looks like, and you're the face of TV, and everyone recognizes you when you go out. But is there wraparound support from other people that have walked in those shoes to help you figure that out?
I don't think intentionally. Like, there's certainly no, hey, this is really mental, do you need some help department? But I think, naturally the people that are in that industry kind of end up, you have to have a certain degree of empathy and kind of awesomeness, I think, to end up being a journalist. So, like people like Sam Hayes and Mike McRoberts and stuff, they, I consider them friends, and at different times they've, kind of provided me with support about different things. And, it was sort of lovely when like Melissa Chan Green started on AM show, and she was sort of going through the same process with Ryan Bridge of like, oh, we're starting this new show. And I was like, wow, let me tell you what I remember about this crazy time a few years ago. So I think, your colleagues do kind of do their best to be that support to you. But it also, there's part of me that's also like, that shouldn't be your job, because like you guys have got to do the most important job ever. So it's just a lot of trial and error of figuring it out and making mistakes.
You mentioned your colleagues, and I'm going to bring in one of them. So we went to Jesse Mulligan to ask for a few bits and pieces, and he sent in, it could be a controversial one, but we'll see how we get on. Jesse writes, she's obviously quite attractive, and I think she's had a lot of people having crushes on her. And for that reason, she's got absolutely no patience for flirtation or any double entendres or anyone being a little bit sexy. She just fucking hates it. She cuts people off. But then surprisingly, sometimes we'll get a guest or someone who she's kind of into, usually a very large man, and she turns into a bit of a giggling idiot. And she knows this because we've talked about it numerous times, but she doesn't really know how to flirt, maybe due to a lack of practice. And so she just turns the volume of her voice up about 80% and swears a lot and says all these really weird things that sound like they haven't really come from her mouth. So that's kind of funny to watch.
God, he's such an annoyingly good writer. Like, screw you, Jesse Mulligan. Yes, all those things are true. There's a lot to unpack. First of all, I'm finding it really fun. I'm like, has someone had a crush on me before? That's like very confusing to me. Cool. But yes, no, he's right. I don't have much tolerance. I wonder if it's because of that, like that Mai FM time where I was like, it was just like the boys, you got to be one of the boys. And so by the time I got to the project, I was like, no, you can be boys away from me. I don't want anything, kind of like, we're smarter than that, people. Yeah. Come on, like, get it together. Yeah. Like pointless swearing I love and will accept at all times, but pointless kind of horny, bawdy jokes, no thank you.
And then Channing Tatum walks in the room.
That was from Mikey, actually. He said, she had a memorable interview with Channing Tatum.
That was a Zoom that I did from my bedroom with Channing Tatum. But yeah, the voice that Jesse is talking about is 100% a real thing. Like, I think one of the ones that comes to mind was like, Dan Carter came into the project studio, and like, he's Dan Carter, you know?
You're only human.
It would be weird if you didn't have a crush on Dan Carter. And I would be like, oh, hey Dan, how you going?
It would be weird if you put a Steve Hansen voice on when you were doing it.
And then like, oh, just fucking don't trip over the step, bro. Imagine if you fell over before the interview. It's a real thing. Yeah. I can't deny it. I can't control it. It's awful. It's truly awful. And it's so really lucky that I'm married to a man that just doesn't care. And I don't feel like I need to talk to Michael like that anymore. So we just love each other and have to deal with it.
Amazing. Yeah. When you see a name like that on the call sheet or coming up, did it used to kind of be like, oh God, here we go, I'm gonna Hanson's going to come out again in the voice, and I'm going to...
No, because Jesse and Jeremy would then be like, oh, everybody get ready for some weird swearing. Get ready for Kanoa's weird man voice. Are you going to be okay? Yeah, what a joy. That's the best thing about having friends and colleagues like that, is they just see you so clearly and laugh at you so loudly for it.
So we also spoke to Paddy Gower.
Oh, yes.
And he said, I want to see if you can work out what he's talking about. You have to ask her about something. It was the greatest day. I was there with her, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. You fill in the blanks?
I know. I'm thinking of it so many times.
Okay.
I'm like...
Cum box.
Oh. Do you know a woman has painted me a hand-painted, like with beautiful calligraphy lettering, a memorial plate that in gold and like a sea of pink roses says cum box. So I will keep that for the rest of my life. I'm really grateful to her. She's very clever.
In your defence, there was a lot of cream before.
Yeah, what was so for those who don't know what was cum
okay?
box?
Let me see if I can say this to you properly. Cadbury Roses announced, I've got my eyes closed, I'm really concentrating, that some of New Zealand's favourite chocolates were making a comeback to the chocolate box. Right.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
They were reappearing in the box of chocolates.
And it was peppermint cream, orange cream. I think it was the creams that tripped you
the
up.
Strawberry cream. No.
Yeah.
True. Strawberry. You're right. That's what it was.
Really charged. It was whoever was a...
Peppermint cream, strawberry cream, orange cream, and making a cum box.
Yeah.
And then I tried to correct myself and just even more loudly, it was like the Steve Hansen voice, even more loudly and clearly, sorry, cum box. And that was it. It was over.
And then they cut to Guy Williams to try and steady the ship. That was my favourite bit of that.
What a disaster.
Yeah.
And he just went, why are you looking at me? I can't fix this.
I can't put the toothpaste back in.
Was that the biggest? Was that one of the bigger bloopers in your 6 years fronting the project?
I think it probably was. Yeah, I can't think of a better one than that.
No fucks on air live?
No, I think it took about a year and 18 months maybe before we got our first fuck on live TV. And again, Jesse Mulligan swooped in to fix it up. It was a guest. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
I know. I've got a real separate brain when I'm in charge, in the presenting seat. I've got a really different brain.
Yeah. Do you switch persona and live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and then you're like cum box?
I do. I do have friends, wonderful friends who were producers on the project. So I worked with them really closely for years. And the other day, Gunn, who was an amazing producer that I worked with, was telling me about how she'd sit in the control room sometimes and I would be slumped on my phone, looking like a prawn, face is gone, I don't know, and probably watching pimple popping videos on my phone. And then you would get the coming to us in 10, and I put my phone down, 5, and I'd sit up straight, and then 3, 2, 1, and hey, I'm back. But I don't think that's I had a different persona. It's when you are just in that environment for so long, you need to find the little spaces to hide and to take a little breather and then come back. But no, I think from starting out in kids TV, I'm if the camera's on, there's no swears.
What's the percentage of having to research a topic versus just flying off the cuff as to whatever happens in studio?
I think it's sort of changed for every story, and our style and our preference kind of changed over the years. There was always beautifully produced and written packages that we had that were all made by producers, unless we were out in the field, interviewing someone in real time or, reporting live from news things. The majority of those videos that played were made by a really talented team. And then what happened on the desk was more or less off the cuff, but we knew how the show was going to go. So, you know that I'm going to be here. You knew kind of what the beats were and what you had room for. And our poor, ever long-suffering executive producer, John Bridges, could see us coming a mile away. Please don't talk for this one. Please, we've got to go to the break. We've got to go to the ad. Just don't say, no, oh, shit. And it was usually Paddy Gower who was the one that was not listening to him saying, shut up.
Hey, Paddy. What do you remember about big events like the Christchurch terror attacks? Like, you catch wind of that. Does everyone get there early? You do a special show? Like, is it treated differently?
Yeah. That time was it changed New Zealand, obviously. I think New Zealand's perception of itself as, a super safe place where everyone's happy and everybody's treated the same. And for me personally, like in my career, that was a real turning point. I remember watching the news. We had this feed that came on, and it only, it wasn't like normal TV, but if they were sending out live news, it would switch on in the makeup room. I was sitting in the makeup chair getting my makeup done, and it was on mute. And I remember me and the makeup artist like trying to understand why it was live and what was happening. And they knew out in the office because they've got comms to all of that stuff, but we were just sort of in this little bubble. And then understanding the atrocity that was unfolding. It was such a mind-blowing day. And then spending that, I think it was a Friday, and then spending that weekend coming in, especially as a team, and going, well, we are not prepared for anything like this. Like, what do we do? And I put my hand up and said, I want to go down. I think we need to be on the ground. And that was sort of from we can't be asking news reporters who are already there, who are like meeting people in the worst time of their life, to then also just grab a quick package for the project, and could they do a live interview for us afterwards. So I think I was sort of like thinking it with a work brain on, like, no, we need to get down there. And then going down there the next day, and it was, I think probably one of the more notable kind of parts of my career, just because I'd never worked through or lived through a national crisis like that. And I don't even know what to tell you about that time. I made some huge fuck ups trying to get people to do interviews with us. There was an amazing team of people. There was we at the project at the time had a hijabi woman, a Muslim woman who she just worked super, super hard, and she ended up connecting with a woman who'd lost her husband and her son to the attack. And that's an interview and a person that I'll remember for the rest of my life. I couldn't believe that she invited us into her home and talked to us. But it was a crazy time, and a very steep learning curve for me personally. But I'm so grateful that I got to meet her and to be there for that time. Yeah.
I can see you still carry it with you.
Well, I'm sort of like struggling, because it's a weird thing to talk about something that's happening to other people in the context of yourself. But I also want to acknowledge what a big moment it was for me personally, without losing sight of the fact that I had nothing to do with it. So I think that's kind of what I'm wrestling with, because I'm just I can so clearly remember just the panic and the fear and all of that stuff. That's so close in my memory, and just what was going on for other people. Yeah.
You've articulated that really well. But no, it speaks to your self-awareness of exactly what you just said. I want to bring Jesse back in, and it's kind of line us up sort of towards the end of the project. But he writes, if she comes across a problem, she immediately feels obligated to solve it, which is not a problem I have whatsoever. If I see someone with a problem, I'm like, well, good luck with that. But she really burdens herself with looking after everyone in her orbit, and sometimes even people who aren't in her orbit, which is both a great quality and, of course, a massive burden to bear. At the project, if there was a makeup artist who wasn't getting paid enough, or if there was a producer who was waiting too long for their scripts to be subbed, Kanoa really felt it, and she'd like, well, this must be solved. She's a really popular character, and part of the reason is that she really does give her time and attention to people, to everyone. She really takes that seriously and doesn't do it for strategic purposes. She just really likes people. She told me the other day that her favourite thing about doing stories in the field was just hanging around with camera people and shooting the shit. And for me, that's the worst part of doing stories. It's a totally different way of looking at the world. Does that sound right?
I mean, the Jesse one definitely sounds right. And you know what? Like, he taught me a lot. There was definitely a time there, like in those first couple of busy years, where I did kind of go, what would Jesse do? And I, through literally asking him and then later Corby, like, how do you say no thank you very much for this opportunity, was really a skill I had to learn. And that those two had down, because they had had much longer and more full careers than I had up to that point. And they weren't, I guess they were just more confident in themselves and weren't afraid to like piss people off. And they didn't piss people off. It turns out you can say no and people don't hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, but it's true. So that definitely, Jesse's definitely like that. And I guess I did see things as injustices sometimes. I thought, we're meant to be in this, you can't make a show that big without every part of the team being in good health and having what they need to like do their jobs well. You don't get a good show if everything from the start of the day isn't humming along. And so I did. I gave a massive shit about it, and I do remember being like, it's don't get me started on hair and makeup artists not being paid enough. It is the worst crime in our industry. They are, again, you never notice a good makeup artist's work, but you always notice it when someone looks a bit like munted. And like, if that was a camera operator or a sound operator or whatever, they'd be making so much more money. And so, that did. It still to this day pisses me off that women's work isn't valued the same. And so, I went around and said some annoying things to bosses sometimes,
But that checking up on other people is like a superpower. But maybe on the other side, you don't end up looking after yourself quite as well. And only if you're open to it, can you tell us about what happened sort of towards the end of the project?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no. So I probably about halfway through 2023, I remember saying to Corby, I was like, can you have a heart attack on your right side? Famously it's your left. And he was like, no. And we were going to air in about an hour, I think. And I was like, shit, okay, this is weird. Like, I'll just take some Panadol. And I just, like, the whole show, I think I basically didn't move. Like, I was so sore. And then anyway, it turns out, well, nobody really knows what happened. They think it was maybe a gallstone or maybe some like, this is gross, but you can edit this out if you want, or something with my pancreas. They just don't really know. But I was in hospital for ages in the worst pain of my life. I think that was just my body's way of being like, yo, this isn't working. What you're doing is not sustainable. You need to slow down. You need to stop going to the bakery and eating little pieces of cake as a treat for yourself because you've been awake all night with the baby and up since 5:30 and you've got to get into the studio. Like, that's not a little treat. That's ruining your life. And so, I just realized that I was not managing all of the things, which is a shit thing to realize when you're like a real type A person and just want to get it all right. But I decided that I would go down to 4 days a week instead of 5. And that was kind of awesome for 2 reasons. Like, one, it meant that like people like the incredible Kate Roger were going to get that Friday show and you know, like do the awesome work that she did. And then I was going to get a day that was just about me and my daughter and my family. And yeah, it was pretty sweet for the I think it was it lasted for about a month or 2 months, and then we got the cancellation news, and I was like, hey, could I have my Fridays back? I need all the money I can get.
Yeah. I'll cut you a little bit of slack here, because I also feel, and I said this to Stephen in the build-up to this episode, like when you objectively look at the last 10 years of stuff that you've done, it's a massively high output, but also massively emotionally taxing. Like the public shit that you had to go through and absorb, the events that happened in our country that you're going on live TV and addressing, the fact that you are a brown face on TV and feeling like maybe you, in the role of the show, have to be the voice for the marginalised or the voice on the side. You start a family. You have this really public but really complex, it seems, journey with Te Reo Māori. Like, fuck, man, that's a lot of shit to stack up on one another. And I found it, yeah, I was like, fuck, we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff. And I was like, fuck, we're going to heap some of that stuff back on you again. And maybe it's a good thing that you can unpack it and you can reflect on it and realize, like, fucking hell, man, you're an incredible person. Like, seriously, to do all that stuff in the public eye, a lot of that shit is very hard to deal with privately, but you did it with so much grace and dignity that a lot of people take a lot of strength out of that. So, yeah, I don't know what the whole message of that monologue was other than like, fuck, man, you can afford to take some time to yourself and rebuild and look back on the amazing stuff that you've done.
Thank you. Was the point of that to make me feel a bit teary now?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was eating away at me because, yeah, I just felt like it's something that needed to be said.
Oh, well, I'm really grateful to have my work reflected back at me like that. And yeah, I think maybe at the start of this year I would have been like, oh, whatever, man, shut up, it doesn't matter, what are you talking about? But like I have given myself a lot of space and focused on my health quite a lot, and yeah, realized that like I can redefine what success means for me now. Like, it's not fronting a 7 p.m. show, it's not having 7 jobs at once and sitting on a great big pile of savings. Like, it's being healthy and available for my daughter, keeping myself alive, and like having relationships with people in my work that fill me up, that's kind of all I want to do now. So it's good that I've done all that other stuff that you said, because now I can just do the easy stuff.
Shay's point about being like the face and the voice of the marginalised, like now that you've got a bit of distance from that, looking back at it, I can't imagine you would understand the weight of what you were doing at the time, but do you now? Do you?
Oh, I mean, it's such a funny thing for you. Yeah, Kanoa Lloyd, voice of the marginalised. But I think, I don't know, I think from being like a bit of a show-off, a bit of a loudmouth, and wanting to do a good job, when I was sat down with issues about, I don't know, like housing, like I just couldn't help but be like, this isn't fair, this is dumb. Whatever politician it was of the moment that was being dumb, that's nonsense what they're talking, because I sort of had this sense of like, if I don't do this now, I might never get the opportunity to do it again. And no one else is saying it. I mean, I'm sitting on the panel with like all Pākehā dudes. That was very often the case. Or, like people that have come from completely different backgrounds to me. And I think yeah, it was never like, I was never like, I gotta save these people. But I also didn't have any shame or concern about just saying what I thought, because I don't know, I just had to.
And unfortunately, not a lot of other people do. So when you do start speaking, you become that target.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think, I don't know. I don't want to be like, yeah, I'm the only one who gives a shit.
Well, yeah, sorry. No, I'll wrap some context around it, because I sometimes feel that weight of being, oh, fuck, I've got to say something about it now because that's my role.
Yeah.
Because that's...
You're the brand guy.
Yeah, that's like that's my role in society. Yeah. It's funny when you said say, like, you feel like you got to say yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I feel that all the time, because if I say no, it's like, oh no, you're a bad one.
Yeah, yeah.
You're a bad one that doesn't want to do this thing. So you're like, oh yeah, fuck, I'll do it. Yep, yeah. I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do that thing. I'll do that. Of course I will. And like the shit that you take upon yourself, because you don't want to be like everybody else, and like these fucking tropes and narratives that bounce around in your own head are fucking.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yes,
it's exhausting. Yeah. And I think I also, like, particularly, I mean, like my mum's Pākehā, I think she's sort of like a perfect example of that superwoman. But I think a lot of Māori women, like high flying Māori women, like I know are sitting on boards and like meetings at their marae and like helping out at their kura or their kohanga, and like it makes me shrivel. Like I feel tired thinking about what some of the women I know do, because it's I think it's that same kind of thing of like, I can and so I have to, and sometimes it does take like a bit of a mini crisis for people to go, oh, maybe I could do 50% less. But yeah, I think that is a burden that a lot of our people kind of do carry. Yeah.
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 Do you remember where you were when you got the call or the first wind that the project was shutting down?
I just walked out of a massage, which is the most like I'm on TV thing ever. And it was weird because I had a phone call. I'd missed a phone call from Sarah Bristow, who was head of news at the time. And then straight after, I had missed one from Ali Ventura, who was our executive producer of the show. And I was like, and then I was doing this like quick calculation of which one I should ring back first. And yeah, basically it was like, you need to get on the Zoom call in 5 minutes time. And we were told the news about 5 minutes before the rest of the team. And so once I hung up that call, I just drove into the office because I was in Avondale, like out where I live, and just got in the car, carried on driving, went into the project office, and I could tell straight away like what part of the meeting I'd walked into because everyone just burst into tears. Yeah, it was a really sad day and quite a weird day. Like I think, yeah, looking back at that time, we were given the opportunity to not go on air that night, that they'd lined up some other programming if we didn't want to go on. And I don't know, like I heard that and I was like, that's amazing. Like, I think that's an incredibly generous thing to do and a real understanding of, like, what the nature of this news is that you're giving this team. Yeah, there's no way we're going on. And not because of me, not because I was like, oh, I'm going to cry on TV. Like, I've done that a million times. It wasn't, but I was more just thinking about my colleagues of like, the news is going to break at the end of this meeting, and then they're going to be calling up trying to get talent to be on the show and spend half that time going, oh no, is the show cancelled? Oh shit, I'm so sorry. When they're just like, yeah, but like, I'm just trying to keep it together. Could you just tell me if you're available for this interview? And I just thought, yeah, who cares? Like, honestly, who cares? It's just TV. And I think I said that in the room at the time, like, this is shit. It's just a TV show. Go home and be with your family. We can go down the pub and like sit there and give each other a cuddle and just hang out and absorb this. But, you know, like, I don't think we should go on. And I might have been, I think some people really strongly disagreed. They were like, no, we're going to go and do the best show we've ever done in our lives tonight. And I get that too. Like, if that had been the consensus, I would have gone and like made the best TV show of our lives that night. But I don't know. I was just like, nah. we're not doing it.
Presumably, it would have always had a lifespan. There would have been a time where your time with the project came to a natural conclusion. Like, had you started to think about life beyond the project?
I had, but I hated thinking about it because I was like, well, hang on a minute. So I've got literally the best job in TV. And I don't say that as like, it was like I wasn't doing a morning show. I wasn't doing a night show. I wasn't doing a weekend show. I'd done all of those things before. Like the best hours, the best friends, the best team, like kind of there were almost no dicks in that team at the project. And that's not true for lots of workplaces, like you're always navigating personalities and stuff. Like what the hell could I want to do that's better than this? And I think so much of my focus was on like money. I was making so much money compared to where I'd come from. And like, I was like, you're not allowed to, you don't walk away from that.
Yeah.
Like that's stupid, which I think is probably how I got myself into the situation with my health, because I just felt really stuck of like there's no other alternative that makes any sense. But having that decision made for me and going away and just sort of reframing, I'm like, I don't think it's actually possible, but if I could make a living as a yoga teacher right now, I would. I did look up how much a yoga teacher makes, and I don't think I'd be able to pay our bills. But, it'd be another nice string to have to my bow.
Yeah. Combine that with a massage therapy. You've
Oh,
got a little,
shit.
you got a little practice.
I'll be making dozens and dozens of dollars.
We had Jesse in, I think, a few weeks before the announcement, and he sort of projected the future of TV and saying, we're the last generation of TV presenters, and it ended up sort of happening. Those clips went pretty hard and after the
Before
announcement
the close of Newshub, totally, rather than the project.
But but do you have thoughts about like what the future of media looks like, or TV, or where you think things are going?
I mean, I wish I did. I wish I had, I wish I knew what the answer is, because I would love nothing more than to be like, don't worry, guys, come with me. I've figured out what we're going to do now, to all my friends that are looking for work in the industry. But I think, my thinking now is sort of, and it's a lot to do with the conversations I have with my husband, Mikey, who works in TV as well, like, people are always we've always told stories. We've always shared parts of ourselves and used the technology we have to shine a light on things. Like there just isn't a world in which that's going to go away completely. And it's very, very, it's kind of mind bending what's going on. I think maybe the mediums will change, but people telling stories, and some of them being good at telling stories, and needing to have people who specialize in that is just always, it can't go away. So I don't know. We've
hitched our wagon to storytelling, so I hope it doesn't. And this has been a brilliant story, but there's one more chapter that I want to talk about, which is motherhood.
Yeah,
and Nico,
I've heard of it.
Nico, 3 years old.
Yeah, she is. She's going to turn 3 on the weekend.
Oh, 3 on the weekend.
Yeah, she's waking up every morning at the moment. Like, is it my day for my party today? Like, no, girl.
Yeah, and how has it changed you?
Oh, in every way. And I even as I say that, I'm a little bit annoyed at myself because every person that wasn't gonna. I mean, I wasn't even sure that I would have kids. We were cool if it happens, if it doesn't, no big deal. But when I do become a mum, I'm going to be a cool mum. Yeah. And it turns out it doesn't matter what you plan beforehand. It just kind of, it is what it is. But for me, physically I changed. I had a really difficult pregnancy, a difficult birth, and I really felt like I had no idea physically who I was anymore. That was quite full on, but it didn't really matter because I also just had the best person in the entire world. She just lives at my house now, just like she was always around.
Yeah,
and you're always around at 7:00 now.
Oh man, that's crazy. I definitely, in the first month or so, I think she was just sort of waiting for it to go back to normal for me to not be there anymore. And it really took quite a while of us getting into this new routine of like, I'm home for dinner, I'm home for bath time, I'm home for bedtime, just to be like, remember how I didn't used to do those things? Like, that's mental. Why? Yeah. So it's really lovely. But it also means that I'm around for her to annoy me a lot more now too. So, peaks and troughs.
Is there a world in which you ever get back in front of the camera, or do you think in the immediate short term? Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, strong nods. Strong nods. Strong nods.
A lot of years left.
I don't want to leave you with the impression that because I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm definitely in a state of change and I am sort of focusing on, other things. I don't want to leave you with the impression that I don't love what I've done for a job for most of my life, because I do. But I think it's just about broadening my base in a really unstable, uncertain environment, rather than just kind of shutting down for business. Let me just like spread out a little bit, plant some roots here and there, and give myself that sort of strong foundation to build off for whatever comes next.
You remember we talked at the start before we went on, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to have anything to talk about. And it's been like, I don't know how long we've been recording, but it's been so good. It's been an absolute epic. So yeah, I'll just kind of sort of land the plane, I think. I'm going to tee Shay up for a big outro, and he's got one coming.
I got a blank bit of paper. So.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your life and story with us. It's been so good. Highs and the lows.
Guys.
It's been a ride. Shay?
Yeah, I've once I finished my research yesterday, I was really excited to, mostly for what I said before, for the opportunity to sort of eyeball you and say, it's just an amazing body of work that you've put together up until now. But also I see some similarities in terms of like that stuff takes a toll. And I really understand why you didn't want to talk to us at the start of the year. But I also understand now, as you're sharpening your storytelling lens, why maybe this sort of experience is important as well to help build that skill set, which you've already got an amazing foundation for anyway. But it's great to, I think, share your story with maybe a different audience, a slightly different audience that we might provide as well. And I really look forward to whatever the next steps are in this journey of yours. So thank you very much for being so open with the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
Yeah, thank you both. I'm going to say my thank you now, which is just thanks for the work that you guys are doing. I think it's like I said earlier, it's an incredible thing to give people your actual proper listening ears, and the normalizing you do of like, yeah, we've all got feelings and we've all got highs and lows is like just more of that all the time, please. So thank you both.
Cheers, Kanoa.